Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 90, noes 2.
Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we could now take off the debate list calendar number 489 on page 33 by Mr. Gottfried.
Clerk will read.
Assembly 9510, calendar 489, Mr. Gottfried, an act to amend the public health law.
An explanation is requested, Mr. Gottfried.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Under the medical marijuana law, physicians can certify a patient for medical use of marijuana. This bill would add that nurse practitioners and physician assistants who can lawfully prescribe controlled substances, such as morphine and hydrocodone, would be added to that list.
Ms. Corwin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the sponsor yield?
Yes.
Mr. Gottfried yields.
Thank you, Dick. The original language of the bill that was passed regarding medical marijuana had to do with it mandated that the Commissioner of Health consider inclusion of nurse practitioners based on access and availability needs. So what we're doing here is we're actually removing that piece of language, and we're legislating allowing the physician's assistants and nurse practitioners to prescribe. Did the Commissioner of Health make a recommendation that we do this? I mean, why are we not allowing him to move forward on his own?
Well, first of all, the Assembly several times passed medical marijuana bills that would have authorized any healthcare practitioner who is licensed to prescribe controlled substances to write a certification for medical marijuana. So we are taking a step back towards what was the often expressed position of this House. Secondly, your specific question, the Commissioner of Health has not acted on the nurse practitioner question either way. He does say he's thinking about it.
He's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but if this bill were to become law, it would no longer be within his realm to make that recommendation, or he could make a recommendation, but it wouldn't.
He would not have to think about it anymore.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. Okay. Now, again, the original law talked about him making that consideration based on access and availability. And I'm just wondering, the law is very new. It's only recently been implemented. Do we have any kind of feedback or sense? I mean, are we writing this bill because we feel that there's such overwhelming demand and there's not enough physicians to do it already? I mean, what's the justification for this?
Well, first of all, no matter how many physicians had signed up to participate in the program, it would make sense to add nurse practitioners and PAs just because there's no reason to exclude them. We let them write prescriptions for hydrocodone. There's no reason why we shouldn't let them write a certification for something as benign as medical marijuana. But the fact is that there's about 600 physicians out of the tens of thousands in the state who have so far signed up to certify for medical marijuana in a state of 20 million people. So I think there is a very serious shortage of physicians who have signed up for the program. At the same time, we've been hearing from nurse practitioners and PAs that they would very much want to participate in the program.
Okay, sure. And just for my own edification, since we've implemented this program, do we have in place metrics so that we can assess and measure the success of the program, so we, going forward, have the ability to make determinations about accessibility and so on? I know That's not standard practice here in New York State, and I think it's something we should be doing with any program that we implement. But do we have those measurements in place? So
Yeah.
as the program evolves, we know whether or not we're accomplishing our goals.
Well, we have very precise numbers on the number of patients who have signed up and who have registered, and very precise numbers on the number of physicians who are certifying. Both of those numbers are very low. The number of patients signed up is low, partly because you can't become a registered patient until you have been certified by a participating physician, and people are having a very difficult time finding a participating physician in their area or anywhere, for that matter.
So we are periodically conducting studies or evaluations to determine those kinds of things.
Well, you don't have to conduct a study. The department periodically publishes real-time data on those numbers.
Okay, thank you. Just one other quick question, more generally speaking. Do we have any sense from the federal government if they're going to be taking marijuana off the Schedule I controlled substance list? Have you heard anything to that effect?
30 years ago, the DEA hearing examiner, after lengthy study, recommended that marijuana be removed from Schedule I. In the intervening 30 years, there has been no sign that I'm aware of the federal government acting on their own recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much, Dick.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. On the bill, Mr. Speaker?
On the bill, Mr. Corwin.
Just generally speaking, I know there are still concerns out there regarding the fact that the federal law makes this a Schedule I controlled substance. And obviously, we've all seen the debates and the discussions nationwide happening in many other states regarding state laws that are basically putting us into peril in terms of what the federal government can do to us if we allow for medical marijuana. I personally am supportive of that. I'm supportive of this bill. But I do anticipate that we could end up with some no votes, and it would be from the fact that the federal government is still essentially outlawing the use of medical marijuana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Corwin. Mr. Finch.
Would Mr. Godfrey yield for one question?
Mr. Godfrey, will you yield? Mr. Godfrey yields.
Why are doctors having a problem prescribing the drug, Richard? Is there, what seems to be the issue there since we've approved this?
Yeah, I don't know that anyone knows the answer to that, to the question of why so few physicians have signed up. It may be that when the first thing they see is that they've got to pay $275 to register and take the course, that's an obstacle. I don't know.
I think my concern is, and it has been on other issues as well, particularly when we change the scope of practice for licensed people in New York State. In this particular case, we're talking about nurse practitioners and
Physician assistants?
physician's assistants. They're under the are they under the supervision of a licensed medical doctor now, or do they operate separately in their own practices? I know we've made some changes in reference to midwives. How exactly, where are we on this one?
PAs practice under the supervision of a physician, and that's been the law for, 40-something years. But in that practice, they have their own DEA number. They are authorized to write prescriptions for controlled substances if they sign up for a DEA number. A nurse practitioner under New York law practices for the first 3 years of practice under a collaborative agreement with a physician. After those first 3 years, they are eligible to practice if they have a collaborative relationship, even if not an actual written agreement, with a collaborating physician. And again, from the very start and today, nurse practitioners can be certified by the DEA and are then allowed under New York law to prescribe for controlled substances.
Do you know why is there such a problem in the distribution of this drug? From what I hear, people have they still have to go out of state. They still have to purchase it some other way. There are a lot of obstacles in the way of purchasing it here. And it's not only it's just not related to the fact that physicians aren't writing the prescriptions, but what seems to be the problem?
Well, there are a host of problems that aren't germane to this bill, although we may later today take up another bill on some of those problems. But the short answer is, at the time we enacted the law, the governor insisted on making some very strong restrictions on the scope of the program, and those restrictions were added to by even more limitations when the health department issued regulations. To me, that is why the program has really barely gotten off the ground, and I think that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't know where this bill is going to help it much in the sense of opening up for letting another group to be able to write prescriptions for it if they don't do it.
Well, there are several different things we need to do to get the program running better, and I hope we will be passing bills on several of those issues. Having more practitioners in more communities who are in the program is one of several steps in the right direction that we could be taking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
Clerk will record the vote. Mr. Butler to explain his vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, we have one of these production facilities in my district near Johnstown, and I had the opportunity to take a tour of that facility. And I must admit, when the whole issue of medical marijuana and those issues came up here on this floor, I was somewhat skeptical. But I'm pleased to report to my colleagues that on my tour I saw a very professional operation. The security was strong. There was a great deal of professionalism, and everybody there was a PhD, and I was very impressed with the operation they had there. So that encouraged me, and that is why I've decided I will vote yes on this bill here today, Mr. Speaker. That was a very positive experience for me, and I don't know what view my colleagues may have of these medical marijuana production facilities, but I came away very impressed. Thank you.
Mr. Butler in the affirmative.